Okay, so in this lecture, we will discuss the concept of the adjoint of an operator. Right? Sometimes it's also called the Hermitian conjugate of an operator. So we will. So you might have encountered this in quantum mechanics. Some of the ideas that we will describe here will be useful for quantum mechanics. Right? So this lecture is about the adjoint of an operator. Okay, so consider a linear operator A. So we have seen how this operator is completely specified if we are able to write down what its effect on every element of some basis is, right? So there is another way of specifying this operator, which is in terms of what are called matrix elements, right? If you are able to give, the value of this bracket or this matrix element x, a, y for any pair of states x and y in the vector space, if you are able to specify this, then that too entirely defines your operator A, right? To see this, suppose we wish to find, so given this result, let's see how we are able to find out, the effect of acting with this operator A on some vector EI. Let's consider some orthonormal basis EI. Now, if you operate with A on this vector, it results in another vector. So A times EI is another vector in your space. So this vector itself has an expansion in terms of this orthonormal basis. So let's write it down, abstractly as alpha j Ej with a summation over j. Now, if you take the inner product Ej and then exploit orthonormality, you can immediately see that this alpha j, the coefficients which are unknown, are in fact just these matrix elements Ej, A, Ei. But this has been specified for you, right? You know every matrix element possible for this operator A. Therefore, you know the effect of this operator on any of the basis vectors, and therefore you know everything about this operator, right? So this is an alternate and complete way of specifying an operator is just to give all the matrix elements, right? So we will use this way of specifying what is called an adjoint of an operator, right? So you're given an operator, so which means that you know what its effect on any of the basis vectors is of some basis. So we will specify every matrix element of the adjoint of an operator in terms of the matrix elements of the operator itself, right? So that's the way we will define the adjoint of an operator. Okay, so yeah, it is given by this rule, right? So it takes a little bit of getting used to, but you might have seen the notion of conjugate transpose of a matrix. So it's very similar to this idea, and so like I said earlier, operators are intimately connected to matrices, right? So we will discuss this as we go along, but for now we are still looking at these operators as abstract objects which are maps which take vectors to other vectors. So the adjoint of an operator also will take a vector and give you another vector, right? So but we will here define it in terms of matrix elements. So it's simply given by the this relation. If you want to find the matrix element of x, a dagger y, it is given by y a x star, right? So you must flip these the ket and bra vectors. X goes into the place of y and y goes into the place of x, and you must also do this complex conjugation, right? If you do this, that's the definition of the adjoint of this operator A, right? So since the operator A has been defined, all these matrix elements of this operator are known, and therefore all the matrix elements of A dagger are known, and therefore A dagger itself is completely defined by this definition, right? So let's look at the notion of taking a ket vector and a bra vector, where the ket vector appears first and then the bra vector appears later on, right? So we have seen that if you take the inner product of two vectors, so we write it as the bra vector appears first and then the ket vector appears later on, right? So every ket vector has a dual vector in the bra space, And so we have seen that an object like inner xy, we think of it as an inner product, and it's a complex number, right? Whereas if you reverse the direction of this, if the ket appears first and then there's a bra, that would be an operator, right? So let us define what this operator is in terms of what it does to vectors, right? That's what an operator is. An operator is what it does to vectors, right? So let's define this sort of formally. So you have an operator xy, it acts upon z, some other vector, and it's simply defined as this inner product of yz. So you must think of this part becoming an inner product, right? So this is where this is in some sense the power of Dirac's notation, right? So you can take this bra vector, and then that will just merge with this ket vector, this z, and you are left with this operator x, right, times this complex number which is the inner product of y and z, right? So that's the definition of this operator xy, right? With this notation, you will see is very powerful, and it appears in quantum mechanics all the time, right? So we should internalize it, and the best way to do that is to work out lots of examples of this kind, right? And then once we get a familiarity, it will be natural to think of operators in this notation, right? So with this notation, we can show that the Hermitian conjugate of the operator xy is actually the operator yx, right? If you just change the ket vector and the bra vector, if they exchange places, then you get the Hermitian conjugate. So how do we see this? So let's connect it back to the definition we made for the adjoint of a linear operator, right? Also, or the Hermitian conjugate. So let us call A is equal to xy, this operator, and B is the other operator yx, right? Now let us show that B is the Hermitian conjugate of A, right? To do this, we will work out some matrix elements. So for any vector z, we have seen from the definition of this type of an operator, A acting upon z is just the inner product yz times x, right? So this is by definition. Now we will multiply from the left hand side with some other arbitrary vector w, right? We have a bra vector, bra w acting on A acting on z will be yz times wx, right? Both of these are complex numbers now, right? So the matrix element is a complex number in general, right? So we started with a vector, we multiplied this vector, operated on it with a linear operator that gives another vector. Now you take an inner product from the left hand side with another vector w that will give you a complex number. Left hand side is a complex number, right hand side is a complex number, right? This is a check that one should do, right? It's useful to do it explicitly when we are starting out, when we're getting used to this type of notation. Now if we take the complex conjugate of this on both sides, we see WAZ complex conjugate of this is complex conjugate of YZ star, the inner product of Y and Z, which is the same as the inner product of Z with Y, right? This is also goes back to our definition of an inner product. An inner product is meaningful if this property holds. The inner product of two vectors is equal to the complex conjugate of the inner product of the same two vectors but in the opposite direction, right? So likewise, the inner product of Wx star is going to be x, the inner product of x and W. So again, let's look at what happens if you operate with B on this arbitrary vector W. So again, using the definition we get x, W and Y. And now if we operate from the left hand side, if we take the inner product with Z, then we have Z BW is equal to this complex number xw times zy, which is the same. We see it's just the product of these two complex numbers, which is the same as waz complex conjugate of this matrix element. But what is this complex conjugate of this matrix element? We have seen that this is nothing but the matrix element zw of the adjoint operator, right? So since this is true for any two vectors z and w, so we have seen for any two vectors z and w, the matrix element of B is the same as the matrix element of A dagger. This is only possible if B is equal to A dagger, right? So that's how we managed to show that, you know, the Hermitian conjugate of the operator xy is the operator yx. So let's look at how the identity operator can be represented in a very nice convenient form. Suppose you have an orthonormal basis for some vector space V. We can show that this operator made up of EI, you take every such vector, you know, take this the operator that we have defined corresponding to each of these vectors, sum them all up, that's going to give you the identity operator, right? To see this, you simply operate, you know, use the definition, you operate on any one of the basis vectors, right? We have EI acting on EJ is, you know, summation over EI, EJ, but EI, EJ, the inner product of EI, EJ is 0 unless I equal to J, when it will be 1, that's the same thing as putting a delta ij here, which will give you ej. So what we have managed to show is this operator I, when it acts on any of these, any of the basis vectors, will just give you the basis vector itself. And if this operator, you know, leaves every basis vector unchanged, it means that it's going to leave every vector in the space itself unchanged, which is the requirement for an identity operator. So indeed, this is the identity operator, right? We have used our new notation and then, you know, constructed some orthonormal basis, and in terms of this basis, this identity operator can be written in this very convenient form, right? So this is a form that will be used, you know, repeatedly when you are doing manipulations in quantum mechanics and so on. So very convenient and useful identity to remember, to keep in mind. Okay, now let's look at some properties of the adjoint. So one is, if you take the adjoint of a matrix, you get back, or of an operator, you get back the same operator itself, right? So this is something we can see invoking the definition, right? So if you take any two, you know, vectors x and y, so we'll work out the matrix element of this operator, a dagger is equal to, by definition, you know, you have to flip y and x, their positions go away, and then in place of, you know, one of these dagger goes away, you have a dagger x star of this. Now, but what is this object? This again can be written as, you know, you have to flip x and y again, and then the dagger is gone, there is another star, but you know, the star and star, the complex conjugate of the complex conjugate of the complex number is the original complex number itself, so you just get x, a, y, and this is true for all x and y, and that can only happen if this operator a dagger is the same as the operator a, right? So this is the first property. The next property is a plus b the whole dagger is a dagger plus b dagger. Once again, we can show this using the, you know, from first principles, using the properties of the adjoint of an operator. So you take again any two arbitrary x and y, and then you have a plus b the whole dagger in the middle. It must be equal to, you know, the vectors, you know, swapping places. Y comes here first, a plus b x, complex conjugate of this. But this is the same as, you know, these are like two complex numbers whose, I mean, this also comes from the linearity. You can just write it as the sum of these two separately, and then you can work this backwards, and then you can rearrange terms again and convince yourself that indeed, you know, the x and y's again change positions, and then you have a dagger plus b dagger. So the sum of two operators, the adjoint of the sum of two operators is equal to the sum of the adjoints of the two operators. And then finally, there is one more very interesting property, which perhaps you have seen with matrices, right? You have seen for transposes and for inverses also have a similar rule. If you take the product of any two operators and then take the dagger of this operator, which is the adjoint of the product of two operators, is equal to, you know, the product of the adjoints but in the reverse order, right? So if you have many of them, of course this will extend. You can, so let's work out you know, this rule for these two operators, but the general, you know, n operator rule is something that you can work out on your own. Okay, here we will exploit this identity operation, and this also illustrates the power of this method, right? So you are given x, ab the whole dagger y is equal to y, ABX the whole star, which is from the first property. And then we introduce, an identity can be brought in for free, right? Identity operator, since it does nothing, so you just introduce this identity between A and B, right? So this is a standard technique, so it's worth observing this, and this trick appears in quantum mechanics all the time, right? So A, I, B, and then in place of I, we introduce this, what is called a complete set of states. So you have some orthonormal basis for your overall space, and so you can write it as in terms of EI. So you have Y A EI star of this EI B X star, right? So and then you can I have just pulled out I have skipped a couple of steps here. One is that I have brought in summation over I EI, and then there is an overall complex conjugate. Then I can pull out the summation, and then since the complex conjugate of the product of two complex numbers is the same as the product of the complex conjugates, that has also been used here, right? And then I can pull this out, and now we so this is what we managed to show. So the inner product, the matrix element X A B the whole dagger Y is equal to this summation over I Y A X EI star EI B X star. I am just rewriting this, and now this can be rewritten as EI A dagger Y. This is like the definition of the Hermitian conjugate of A, and in place of EI B X the whole star, I write it as X B dagger EI, and then instead of writing this as the product of two complex numbers in one order is the same as the product of the same two complex numbers in the other order, which is more suggestive. So I will just these two complex numbers exchange places, right? So these they look like there's a lot of activity here with lots of operators and everything, but really it's just the sum of the product of complex numbers, right? So and I'm free to change the order of this because it's just multiplication of complex numbers. And now you see that I have EI and EI, which appears in this nice form. So again I can bring, so all the summation is contained only in this central region. So I can bring the EI back in here, and I can think of this as there's inner product of X B dagger summation over I EI A dagger Y. But what is this stuff inside the brackets? It's nothing but the identity operator, right, which we introduced right at the beginning. So now I can write this as X B dagger I A dagger Y, but I does nothing, so I might as well just remove it, and then I have X B dagger A dagger Y. So since this is true for all vectors X and Y, it must be that AB the whole dagger is equal to B dagger A dagger, right? So this elaborate discussion illustrates the power of the identity operator and how when it can be introduced strategically between operators, and many results can be proved with the use of this technique, which will appear in many contexts in quantum mechanics. Okay, so that's all for this lecture. More on this kind of identity operator decomposition will be used in the following lectures. That's all for this lecture. Thank you.